Tell me a little bit more about how you deal with not just the balance, but also, Meaty, you had this great point about how present can you be, right? So thinking about how present are you, whether you're working from home or whether you're out of the home, or depending on how much you can contribute to actually being there around your kids. Do you ever feel a sense of mom guilt or dad guilt or parent guilt? And
I
how do
don't,
you deal with
Nikki.
that guilt?
Nikki, I don't. What I realize is that, and I think that's something that I'm learning as I'm maturing, not just as a woman, as a professional, but also as a mom. Just because we're moms or fathers or parents, surrogate, adopted, whatever, doesn't mean that our life has to stop. It doesn't mean that you can't still go and fulfill your own personal dreams and goals. Your children are an extension of who you are. And I think Cassie just mentioned it that my son's going to be out of the house in 3.5 years. So if I do absolutely nothing, how do I not still fulfill myself and cultivate myself? I don't think that I am a person of faith. I have no problem sharing that. So I don't believe that God intended me to only be a mother and not use the gifts that I have as a nurse to help fulfill and have a positive impact on my community, yea, the world. And so am I to do nothing for 18 years? I don't think that's intended for us as parents either. I do think there's obviously a delicate balance, obviously, but I do think that we should not guilt ourselves and that our goal and our job as parents is to also role model balance, right? And I look at my life not just as a plate, quite frankly, it's a table. And think about Thanksgiving. Sometimes Thanksgiving, you have that big turkey, you have that big centerpiece, and your family should be the turkey, if you will, right? That it should be the big centerpiece meal. And then you have all these little sides, right? You have your job, you have, it's almost like a Venn diagram. And you have your job, you have your sororities or your fraternities or your church life, your social life, your friends. And so I just think it's about every once in a while the Venn diagram moves, but everything is still on the table. And as long as your family is at the core, that's really what's most important. And so for me, your very first question about how do I balance that? I leave, like literally when it's my son had a lacrosse event yesterday. And as I was literally purse on shoulder, one of my staff asked me something. I'm like, okay, the person wasn't dying, right? So send me a text or I call you when I get into the car, but I'm going to be home on time because I'm not going to miss anything for Anthony. Because when he's gone, he's gone. And so I think that's where the balance comes. So I can still be the professional. I can still come to work. I can still make an impact. And quite frankly, I was a few moments late logging on here because it was a work issue. And I'm like, guys, I have to go because this is something that I promised, Liz, I was going to do. And I don't want to be another minute late. And so I think we just have to make sure we set those boundaries and not guilt ourselves.
I love that, Meaty. And just a follow-up question to that. Do you feel like that has developed over the years? Because you mentioned, well, first of all, your son is 14, right? So it's been 14 years since you've had him. Tell us a little bit about that, if there's been a transition, because I know many people in here, including myself, have much, much younger kids. I'm looking at Brittany. So how has that been, I guess, over the years? What lessons have you learned?
Well, Nikki, I don't think it would be fair for me to answer that question without giving you guys context. My mother died when I was 4. She died on Mother's Day. My mother died of ovarian uterine cancer. And so part of my personality and my ability to kind of juggle things and be okay with saying no and then still doing things that I want to do and not feeling the mom guilt is what if I didn't do those things and then I died tomorrow? And I know that seems morbid, but you guys know I'm a nurse, so I see life and death literally every day. Somebody on my unit died today. And so I live my life as what if tomorrow's not promised? And so my son, my husband is my priority, but Meaty still has things that I want to do and accomplish in life as well. And as long as I'm not negating them, but I can still do those things and be fulfilled and enjoy. But part of that is my own personal experience. My mother was 36 when she died. And so she left, I was 4, my brother was 8 years old. And so imagine those, and I'm 45. So imagine if I didn't do the things that I wanted to do within the last 10 or 11 years, because I only did Anthony. Like just think about that right now. Think about if you didn't go and exercise, if Liz and Josh didn't start and create QNIC, if they just decide, oh, I'll just wait until what happens is ask yourself, what happens if you have a dream deferred that you chose not to act upon? And I think we are all put on this earth that to solve a problem that is here, and we have the answer to that, and that's how you find your purpose. And so for me, my drive and my okay with not having a mom guilt is because my mother died at 36. So listen, I love my son and husband, but I'm going to still get it in.
I love that. That's amazing.
I want to echo that 1000%. And I would also like to add, sometimes the person that you need to set boundaries with is you. Like I overrun my own boundaries all the time, and it contributes to imposter syndrome, as I learned from Kunick, because I'm not building credibility with myself, because I'm saying, oh, yeah, I'll get that done. I'll get that done. Oh, it's fine. I don't need to do it. It's just for me. It's just a me thing. No, I am important. Be selfish. Take the time to be selfish sometimes. The world is not going to fall apart in an hour while you go get an iced coffee and go thrift shopping or whatever is your deal. Like, it's just not going to fall apart.
That's such a good reminder, Cassie. Reminding ourselves that 1 hour isn't going to just end everything. Or even if you take 30 minutes, whatever it might be, it can wait. It can all wait for that.
And that mom guilt is like, that's a serious, like I struggled with mom guilt for probably 15 years until I realized, that's what I'm modeling for their children, or for my children, as to like what they should expect from adulthood, is that you should always feel like you're not enough. Secondly, mom guilt was impacting my ability to actually be a good mom, because I was focused about whether or not I was going to feel guilty later, or like what emotional impacts that was going to have, or like, am I screwing up my kids by like, because I, went out for an hour or whatever. But it was that notice of like, it's more important for my kids to have a healthy, happy, whole mother than it is for them to have access to me 24 hours a day.
Right.
And Cassie, being home 24/7 doesn't make you a great parent either, right? Just because you're home all day doesn't mean that you're doing the right things either. So that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Right. Especially
Right.
that one that's just like me. Oh.
Yeah.
Shout out to my husband though, because he does the bulk of the childcare when they were little. I worked second shift and he worked first. So he would be home with them in the evenings while I worked. And seeing what they are like now, I don't know how he survived.
Love it.
I
love this
have a
idea. Yep. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I have a motto too of like, live your life full so you can die empty. And I don't mean to the point of running yourself ragged, but I'm saying just like literally take things in stock. I had a friend, my ex-boyfriend, you guys go figure this, from high school, out college, passed away yesterday from brain cancer, and he was 46. He has a sophomore in college and a senior in high school, and his name was Rudy. And I asked myself, God, but his kids saw him live a full life. Whenever we would have homecoming parties, like, dad wasn't just at home. He was very much so a family man, he was married, with his kids, was very much so present, but he lived a full life. If you all were friends with him, you would see literally, I think he's had over 1,000 posts on his Facebook page about people that talk about how full of a life that he lived. And so that's me. I want to ask myself, may the works I've done speak for me. There's an old hymn that says, may the works I've done speak for me when I'm resting in my grave and there's nothing else that can be said. May the works I've done speak for me. And so I think parenting is also bring your kids with you to those meetings. I'm in a sorority. Anthony would come with me with his little iPad back in the day when iPads first came out, his little games, and he would be there because mom was a part of an organization that was doing community service, right? So he would go with me to the homeless shelters when I was delivering packages. He went with me when we were out cleaning up trash in some of the neighborhoods. He went with me to the nursing home to deliver food. And so I think, those activities that we're doing. So I want to be clear. I'm not telling you to go out there and party all night and leave your kid at home. But I mean, if you're doing things that are fulfilling to you, let them see that.